One of the largest factors of Google Ads success is optimization. Now, a lot of people throw around the word optimization. What does it really mean, and what are they looking at when it comes to making an account better over time? So, optimization in essence is very, very simple. You're basically taking what you're running and cutting out the fat of what isn't working and continuing to put money on what is. And that materializes in a couple different worlds when it comes to the Google Ads side of things. I'll explain exactly what we're looking at, what KPIs we focus on, the different areas, whether they're keyword targeting, demographics, the assets. So we're going to get through all of that, but really understanding that with Google Ads, you're not always launching with the best possible results that can happen on the front end. Most of the time, I would say about 90% of the time, you're going to launch something and then you're going to make it better over time to make it within KPI. So you don't want to launch something and assume whether it works on the front end. That's it, whether or not you're going to turn off or not. The whole point of Google Ads success is really launching something in a broad sense and then optimizing down to make it profitable and then continuing to stack on top of that over time and over time and over time to all of a sudden you have multiple campaigns that are very sustainable ROI wise. And then of course they have scalability and can run next to each other. So when it comes to optimizing, there's a couple KPIs we really focus on. Biggest is going to be convertibility, right? So is the campaign converting or the targeting converting? What cost is that happening at? So if you're not familiar with all these different marketing lingos, we use CPA a lot, which is cost per acquisition. This is the cost that you want to get an actual conversion in at. So when it comes to Google Ads, especially in the e-com world, this is the cost that you need to acquire a purchase on the store to be profitable. And if you're not getting purchases within that KPI and it's unsustainable, you're not going to be able to keep spending money, right? In most cases, some people have different pain tolerances when it comes to spending and testing. A lot of the times, you're going to want to turn something off if it goes over 2 times your CPA. And at that point, you're going to really judge that as potentially really not working. You're going to focus on other areas. Sometimes you can get into something that looks too expensive on the front end and do different things, different strategies, other areas that we talk about to get the cost down. But when you're really launching, you want to keep things really close to your CPA and cut out what isn't. That way you can focus on the front end, the lowest hanging fruit. So CPA and conversion is going to be really important. The conversion rate will be a little bit important, but the problem is the conversion rate is generally dictated by what's going on the asset side. Of course, traffic quality will be relevant, but on the Google Ads side, if you've been watching the other videos that we do, you can really control quality very easily. So a lot of the times we're not too worried about conversion rate. We're more so worried about the cost of the traffic coming in. And then if it's converting at, let's say 1%, like most of your store traffic, is it falling in the right cost metric to be sustainable for the store? So CPA, I would argue, is probably the most important. The other area that falls into that is going to be the cost of the traffic and then the click-through rate of the traffic coming through. Now, click-through rate's very simple. It's the amount of people who see the ad versus the amount of people who click on it. If 100 people see it and 2 people click on it, you have a 2% click-through rate. On the search side, that's generally going to be a 3%-ish goal. Usually about 2 to 3% is a really strong industry average. But anything upwards better, anything lower, you're really going to want to work on, right? If you're targeting branded traffic, you're really looking for a 7 to 8 plus, click-through rate, because if people are seeing it and they know your brand, they're going to click it at a higher rate. So you want to have a higher threshold there. If you have a really low click-through rate there, you're going to want to see what's going on with the traffic. Maybe there's something people are searching similar to your brand and you're paying for a bunch of traffic that's not really actually relevant to you. You have a low click-through rate. So click-through rate will be really important as far as a front-end indicator. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing, whether there's expensive traffic costs, whatever it is, as long as you fall under your target CPA, you can keep running all day, right? So CPA is the end goal, but there are front-end indicators that we'll look at to really see if it's going to make sense at the CPA level. So that goes on to, now that we have the data, where are we really making changes? What are we looking at in the broad sense? I would say the biggest thing you look at first is campaign size. So when it comes to campaigns, a lot of the times you're going to be launching a few at a time to start testing. And there's generally going to be a big difference in the results there. And the easiest thing you can possibly do is turn off the campaigns that aren't working and keep going on the ones that are, right? It's a little bit more nuanced than that. A lot of the times you can go into those campaigns if they, let's say you're on the search network, right? And figure out what in there is making it not sustainable and starting to pause things. We'll talk about that in a second. But if you're running, let's say, a PMAX campaign, a search campaign, a branded campaign, and maybe a little bit YouTube, the easiest thing you can do is just start shifting budget to what's working the best. And then that's going to buy you time to focus on what isn't working and start testing at a lower level, because you really, name of the game with optimizations is just speed to action when it comes to what's actually working. You want things to spend more that are actually profitable as fast as possible until you hit a wall, and then slowing down what's not working and then testing at a slower rate so you can save your money and be able to put it on things that are profitable, and then at a slower pace figure out what's going to fix the campaigns that aren't working well. So Once you do that, then you're really going to get into the optimization within the campaign. There's a couple different areas we look at. Let's talk about the search side for a second. So when it comes to search ads, the three main areas is going to be keyword targeting. It's going to be the ad assets that you have in place. Most of the time, that's going to be a dynamic search ad. And then the last is going to be the landing page that you're using. So when it comes to search, most of the optimization is usually going to happen on the keyword side. Is the keyword sustainable? If you have, let's say, 10 keywords in an ad group, are there certain keywords that are pulling in traffic and not converting, or the traffic's too expensive? A lot of times you want to pause those in the meantime. You got to remember that if you have targeting together, Google's going to determine where that budget's going, right? So sometimes you might have 10 great keywords and half of them aren't ideal for traffic that converts, but Google's just deciding to push all the budget that way, right? So in that case, you could either turn those off to give the other keywords a fair chance, or you can separate them and do independent budgets like we've talked about. So very, very important. Don't just turn off something and just leave it for dead and just assume it's never going to work. You really need to dig into exactly where the money's going. And then if the money is not turning into more money, what can you turn off to allow other tests to happen within that campaign, and then keep proceeding. Like I said, there are the ad asset side and then also the assets that the traffic goes to. If you have a converting store and you know your product pages convert on, like, let's say Facebook, or your ad assets on the Google side with search, it's very cut and dry. There's not a lot you can mess up in there, right? Because you're really putting in things about your products. It's more so less copywriting and putting in more the elements that relate to your products, the keywords and certain things like promotions you're doing. So a lot of the times it's not going to carry a ton of weight in the actual conversion ability of what's coming in traffic wise. So like I said, most of the time it's going to happen at the keyword level of search. Now we get to the PMAX side, which is really, really important for the e-com world. And PMAX is a little bit different too, because you don't have as many levers you can pull like a search campaign or YouTube campaign and constantly rotating out all these different areas, because the PMAX is controlling a lot of what's being shown, what orders are being shown, what targeting is being shown too, right? So the biggest things that you can focus on there are going to be different builds of the PMAX. We're not going to talk about PMAX strategy too much in this video because I want to talk about more how to troubleshoot and optimize what's going to be working, right? But on the PMAX side, if it is not converting at a good rate and you're not able to scale it and you're spending money and it's not bringing a good ROI, a lot of the times it's going to either be the assets that you have in there, the structure of the actual PMAX, and then also how your products are being presented through the shopping formats. So if you have your merchant center open, you can look through, are the images coming through correctly? Are there policy issues? A lot of the times the PMAX works as a whole, or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then you're going to want to go with a different structure, or limit within the asset groups what products are showing through as far as a category. You're really restructuring more so instead of turning things off and on like you would on the other campaigns. So very, very important to know, depending on the campaign type, there are different actions you're going to take. Now, there are different campaigns, we've mentioned there's going to be YouTube, there's going to be display. A lot of the times with YouTube display, it's more audience based. So same like Google search, it's just not keywords. So with display and YouTube, you're going to be more focused on what creators are shown and then also what audience are shown within. So it could be either your data, it could be detailed demographics, it can be in-market affinity, whatever it is, you're generally going to want to pull the levers on the creatives and then the actual audience side. So I hope this helps. A lot of the times Google is just a matter of going through black and white logic, troubleshooting, finding what's working, what's not, putting in the effort to do that, because it does take time to dig through this data. But if you put that effort in, I guarantee you your results will get better and you will find scalability. So very, very important to put that effort in. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, drop a comment and I'll make sure to get you an answer myself. Also, make sure to check out our Instagram and TikTok where we post daily on the best tips to scale your Google ads. Thanks for watching.